Hello everyone, welcome to Texture Myth. In this session, we are going to talk about another very important topic related to medical coding anatomy, where we will be mainly talking about the classification of receptor by stimulus type 2 mechanoreceptors. So we will be discussing about mechanoreceptors, we'll see how many mechanoreceptors are there, its advantages, its use, right, and all the other required thing that you should know regarding the mechanoreceptors, with some interview questions and tips that will help you in your exam and your interviews as well. Okay, so mainly we will be discussing about the mechanoreceptors, but before we proceed further with it, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released session first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow it sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic, because for time being we are just mainly focusing on what is mechanoreceptor, but before that you should know what is photoreceptor, which we learned in our last session, what is receptor, which we learned in our previous session, and what is sensory system. Okay, and for the entire series of these sessions, what you can do, you can also refer the Texture Myth digital course book, which is freely available in the description box. There you will find thousands of sessions available in both Hindi as well as English language. So without any language barrier, you can easily consume the content. And in case if you have any queries or question, just feel free to reach out to me through comment section. I would be more than happy to answer all your questions. Okay. Alright, so let's see what is mechanoreceptors. So definition wise, it's very simple and straightforward, because mechanoreceptors are the sensory receptor that detects the mechanical forces. Okay, so as its name suggests, it is mechano means mechanical forces such as touch, pressure, vibration, stretch and the sound, and then later converted into the nerve impulse. Clear? So I think definition is clear. It's a sensory receptor that detect the mechanical forces and convert it into nerve impulse. Now location, it found throughout the body in the skin, muscle, tendons, joints, blood vessel and inner ear. Okay, so location is also clear. Now we will talk about the overall category, like how it is divided into three groups based on their location. So here is the first group, which is cutaneous mechanoreceptor or skin. These are mechanoreceptor found in the skin and are responsible for the sense of touch. Okay, so now in group 1 we have multiple type of receptors, so one by one we will learn each. Okay, the first is Meissner corpuscles. Meissner corpuscles means it is basically located in the dermis of hairless glabrous skin, particularly in the fingertips, palm, lips and sole of the feet. Okay, so these are the area where we will find Meissner corpuscles. They can detect light touch, texture and low frequency of vibration. Okay, so they are all our interview question. Okay, they can detect light touch, texture, low frequency vibration, but they are rapidly adapting. That means they will respond strongly initially when touch begins, but quickly reduce their response if the stimulus remains constant. And that is why we stop feeling our clothes after a few minutes, right? When we wear the clothes, after a few minutes we forget that touch, right? And that is Meissner corpuscles, because it adapts to the constant stimulus. Okay, now they are most like numerous in the fingertips. There are multiple things in fingertips, which is why fingertips are the most sensitive to light touch. Okay, they are encapsulated receptors. That means they are surrounded by a connective tissue of capsule. Okay, so this is also a question. Is it encapsulated or unencapsulated? So you have to say Meissner corpuscles is encapsulated receptor. Now we will see the second type of cutaneous mechanoreceptors, that is Pacinian corpuscles. Pacinian corpuscles means it is basically located deep in the dermis and subcutaneous tissue, also found in joints, periosteum of bone and mesentery. They mainly detect the deep pressure and high frequency of vibration. Okay, so it measures the high frequency of vibration, and they are the largest mechanoreceptor in the body. Largest mechanoreceptor in the human body is Pacinian Corpuscles, large enough to be seen with the naked eye. Okay, we can also see it. They are rapidly adapting. They only respond at the onset and removal of the pressure, not during the constant sustained pressure. Again, this will also adapt like if there is a constant sustained pressure. And they look like a small onion with many concentric layers of connective tissue surrounding the nerve ending, and they are highly important for detecting the vibration and texture when holding the manipulating objects. Clear? So this is the second part. Now we'll talk about the third part of cutaneous mechanoreceptor, that is Merkel disc. So Merkel discs are located in the epidermis, most numerous in the fingertips and lips. They detect fine touch, sustained pressure and spatial details. Okay, they allow you to distinguish the edges, shapes and the fine or detail object. Mainly you can say they are slowly adapting. Okay, they are slowly adapting in nature. They continue to fire the response as long as the stimulus is present, allowing sustained awareness of what is being touched. Okay, so that is Merkel disc. They are important for reading braille and performing tasks on require fine discriminative touch, and they are completely uncapsulated. That means they are flattened disc shape ending without a capsule. There is no capsule here in Merkel disc. The next is Ruffini endings or Ruffini corpuscles. Ruffini corpuscles, which is located deep in the dermis and in joint capsule and ligaments. They mainly detect sustained skin stretch, sustained pressure and joint position. They are slowly adapting in nature. That means they continue to fire the response as long as the skin remains stretched, and they are important for detecting the position of fingers during the gripping and sensing joint angles. Now they are encapsulated in nature. That means they are surrounded by thin connective tissue capsule. So if it is surrounded by thin connective tissue capsule, then it is a encapsulated, otherwise it is unencapsulated. Okay, so remember these things. Now we have the fifth point, that is hair follicle receptor. Hair follicle receptor, which is wrap around of the base of the hair follicles throughout the hairy skin of the body. They detect the movement of hair of the skin surface. They are highly rapidly adapting. That means they respond to the initial movement of hair but quickly stop firing the response. And they are so sensitive that they can detect light breeze moving the hairs before the breeze even touches the skin surface directly. Okay, so this is all about hair follicle receptor. So we have covered this first group, that is cutaneous mechanoreceptors. Now we'll talk about the proprioceptors body position. Okay, proprioceptors. So these are the mechanoreceptors that detect the body position, movement and muscle tension. They provide the brain with a constant information about where the each body part is in space. So let's see what we have in proprioceptors. First is basal spindles, located within a skeletal muscle, running parallel to the main muscle fibers inside the muscle belly. Okay, they mainly detect the muscle stretch, change in the muscle length. When a muscle is stretched, muscle spindles detect that stretch and send the signal to the spinal cord. Okay, so whenever the muscle is stretched, it sends the signal to the spinal cord, which triggers a reflex contraction of the stretched muscle to resist the stretch. This is the basic of stretch reflex, myotactic reflex. Okay, so basically it triggers the reflex contraction of the stretched muscle to resist the stretch. This is the basic of stretch reflex, which is called as myotactic reflex. Now let's see one example. Okay, the most classic example is patellar knee jerk reflex, knee jerking, right? So tapping the patellar tendon stretches to the quadriceps muscle. Spindles detect the stretch. A reflex signal is sent to the spinal cord. Then the spinal cord send the motor signal back and the quadriceps contract. The legs kicks forward. Yeah. So we can say muscle spindles are also important for maintaining the muscle tone, the constant slight tension that keeps muscle ready for the action. Now we have second thing, that is Golgi tendon organ, which is located at the junction between muscle and tendon at the point where the muscle attached to its tendon. They basically detect the muscle tension, the force a muscle is generating. When a muscle tension becomes excessive, okay, let's say if due to any reason it is excessive in nature, then in that case Golgi tendon organ sends signal that cause the muscle to relax. This protects muscle and tendons from being torn by excessive force. So this is a protective response is called as myotatic reflex and autogenic inhibition. They work in opposition to muscle spindles. Okay, so now let's compare it. Okay, muscle spindles and Golgi tendon organ. So muscle spindles basically detect stretch and cause muscle to contract, but on the other hand Golgi tendon organs detect excessive tension, cause muscle to relax. Clear? Now the third one is joint receptor. As its name suggests, it is located in joint capsule and ligaments throughout the body. They detect joint position, the direction of joint movement and the speed of the movement. But they are constantly sending the information to the brain and cerebellum about the joint angles and movement. And this information is essential for coordinating smooth controlled movement. Clear? So I think this part is clear. Now we'll talk about the third group, which is Mechanoreceptors of the inner ear, and this is the last. Okay, I know the session is lengthy, but we need to cover all these things together so that you can relate the things. Okay, now we are on the group C, the last group, which is for Mechanoreceptor of the inner ear. Hair cells. Yes, it is located in cochlea for hearing and vestibular system for balance and equilibrium. They are called hair cells because they have tiny hair like projection called stereocilia on their surface. So for hearing, sound waves create a fluid movement in the cochlea. This bends the stereocilia of hair cells, generating nerve impulse interpreted as sound. So for balance, head movement creates a fluid movement in the vestibular system. This bends is the stereocilia of hair cells, generating nerve impulse that helps maintain balance. Now hair cells are the most delicate mechanoreceptor in the human body. They can be permanently damaged by the loud noise exposure, leading to the permanent hearing loss. And that is why, like, whenever we use a earphone or headphones with a loud audio, then in that case it might permanently damage the this mechanoreceptors, and it leads to the permanent hearing loss. So this is the suggestion and advice, strong advice for everyone, that make sure that whenever you are hearing anything using microphone, using headphones or earbuds or earphones, make sure the audio is not excessive. It should be below 50, you can say. Sometimes mobile also indicate that this amount is sufficient, and above that will cause a hearing loss. So take it seriously, otherwise it might cause issues. Okay, so yeah, this is all about the group C. And now we have one question for all of you, and today's question is, how many types of cones in photoreceptors? Very interesting question, because this thing we covered subtly in the last session. So I'm sure some of you have noticed this thing. So those who have noticed, please do share your knowledge in the comment section. In case if you don't know the answer, don't worry, we have covered this thing in detail in our last session. So from there you can take a reference and then you can tell me the answer. But make sure that you share the answer so that others can take a reference from it. Okay, so you are not recalling the things, you are also telling us like what are the answers, so that those who don't know will simply get the answer from the comment. Okay, and also please do share your comments frequently, because the moment when you share the comment, I got the notification, and on the basis of their response, on the basis of number of comments, I release the remaining sessions for this series. So please do share your knowledge frequently, and we will also try to spotlight and highlight those commenters who are frequently commenting on this session. So we will create one special video for them for sure. Okay, so yeah, that's all for today. See you in the next session. So thank you for watching TechShareMath.